Hey everybody, Chris here from Chris and Andrew Outside. Andrew's on the camera.
Hello guys.
So today we're just going to do a real quick how-to on how to repair a broken fishing rod. So got this fishing rod right here and the tip broke off. It was a really clean break, so there wasn't a lot of splits and everything going up the blank. So what I did was I took a file. This file is dedicated to only using for fishing rods. I don't get any oil on it, I don't use it for metal, I don't use it for anything except fishing rod blanks. And I took it and I trued up the end of the blank there, and I inspected it to make sure there weren't any fractures. I did the same thing with this side, trued it up as well. Now this is a fiberglass blank here. Pretty sure it's not. I mean, it could be a composite fiberglass graphite. Anyways, to do a repair on a fiberglass or graphite rod, you have to use a piece of fiberglass. So supplies wise, here is something that anybody that does rod repairs should have. Tons of different pieces of fiberglass blanks. So if you've got a fiberglass rod that breaks, don't throw it out. If you're not going to save it, whatever the case is, cut it up into pieces, put it in a bag and save it, because you can use fiberglass to repair graphite. Do an oversleeve. You got to use fiberglass because it's got to be softer than the graphite rod, because if you use graphite, then it's going to be thicker because it has to go over it, and it's not going to be as flexible. It's going to be more rigid, and it's going to cause that rod that you're trying to repair, it's going to cause it to break again. So I was telling you, took the tip top guide off, okay, slid this sleeve over, whoops, to make sure that everything fit. Got a nice line up right there, okay? So there we have it right there. And I've beveled the edges just slightly so that when I wrap this over with thread, it'll go up that patch piece real easy. So what we're going to be using today to attach this together is the U40 Quick Bond. I like this stuff. I go through it a lot because it does a lot of stuff. I mean, you can repair a lot of stuff with it. Check out our videos on AMA Garage 253. I actually do a steering wheel restoration with it. It's fantastic on it. We've got 3 or 4 more steering wheels to do. Going to be doing them with this, dyed with some graphite powder. But anyways, so I got this measured down. Everything's perfect. I'm going to take this sleeve that's on there. It'll be slid up like this. I'm going to put some Quick Bond here, and I'm going to put some Quick Bond here, put the pieces together, and then slide it down, and then we're just going to let it dry. Yeah, the Quick Bond starts to set up in about 20 minutes, and then it's really set good after a couple hours, and then you just leave it cure for a day or so. But it'll set up really good. But you can see here the action of that rod is not going to be affected any. So the tools that we're using, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, guys, I apologize. So got the file that's dedicated for fishing rods only, for cutting and filing clean. Got a spatula for scooping out the epoxy. Got a Scotch-Brite pad. Normally I like to use the gray one, but this is all we had today, and so I used it. I didn't push too very hard, but most of the time fiberglass or composite blanks are painted, and this one is no exception. So it was painted, so I took this Scotch-Brite to it, took the paint off. Got the little piece of rod blank that I already cut down from one of these, just trial and error to find one that fit. We've got the Quick Bond. The other thing we've got here is a piece of cardboard, and I've got a big old sledge on top of it to hold it in place while I'm mixing the epoxy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. The other thing I got here are the Kimtech Kim wipes. These things, I gave a bunch of these to Andrew years ago to clean his glasses with because they have no lint. But the reason I actually had these was to be able to clean up fishing rods and everything, because if you're putting finish on your rods, you don't want to introduce any extra lint. We're not doing any finish today, but I grabbed these anyways. And I got some isopropyl alcohol. All right, I'm gonna start taking out the epoxy and mixing it up. Guys, one thing that people always do is they always take too much epoxy. Which I'm pretty sure I'm doing right now too. And you can see it's hardly anything, but it is going to be more than enough to do exactly what we need. So, Andrew's just being destructive here. All right, this stuff is very forgiving. You want to do a 50% or equal parts, 50-50, and get it mixed really nice. But it's 50-50 by volume, and you eyeball it, and it's really good stuff. If you've never used it, I suggest you give it a try. I've repaired transducers with this. Like I said, restored steering wheels with it, glued wood with it. I use it for all my glue ups that involve the cork and the rod or reel seat. My favorite stuff. So, all right, I think we're pretty well mixed there. Higher up on the blank you put it, whether that's where you want it to be, the better chance you have of it getting on the inside of the sleeve, the repair sleeve. So this is way high up on here, and we're just going to clean off the excess anyways. Alright, it's exactly where I want it to be, I hope. And you can see there's a substantial amount. We can glue something else up. Okay, it's not that much, but oops. Alright, you guys, so now that I've got that glued up and I have, whoa, that's not a pour spout. I'm going to clean up this excess alcohol, or excuse me, excess epoxy with the excess alcohol. Little too much excess. Alright, you guys, there it is. That's how you do a proper repair on a fishing rod. This method was actually derived, as far as I recall, by Ralph O'Quinn, who is also the gentleman that invented the U40 quick bond and rod bond. So rod building community really owes a lot to Ralph O'Quinn. So passed away here a couple of years ago, but he left quite the legacy with everything that he's done. So we're gonna let this set up. After it's done setting up, we're gonna take the tip top. I've got some tip top cement. I don't like to use epoxy putting it on. I've never had a tip top fail when I do the tip top cement. I'm gonna put tip top cement onto there, and then I'm gonna take black thread, wrap it over this repair job, and then wrap it around or below the base of the tip top just to finish it off, and then it'll take a coat of proper rod finish, and this rod repair will be done. So if you guys are in business, it's up to you whether you find, actually it's up to the customer. So if you guys have a rod that's broken and you want to get it repaired, and you want to pay somebody, you have to decide whether it's worth it, because sometimes a cheaper rod, it's easier just to buy another one than to pay for the repair. But I'm fixing this for Andrew, and I believe it's his nephew's rod, and so obviously there's no charge, and it's fun. And you see, it only took a couple of seconds, guys. Took 20 minutes cutting this piece of fiberglass, getting the right size and shape and everything, but real quick and easy repair as long as you got the stuff. Hey everybody, so the sleeve that I put on the quick bond's dried, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a deflection on it. I don't want to do it too much because there's no supporting wraps on the outside of it, but you can see here that we've got a nice repair job, nothing's breaking. There's a little bit of flex to that fiberglass oversleeve. Like I said, you got to use fiberglass oversleeve because you're using something that's bigger than the underlying rod, whether the underlying rod is fiberglass or graphite or a combo, but you got to use a fiberglass oversleeve, especially if you can get like a lower modulus, cheaper rod actually, because you want it to be a thicker, rounder rod, but you want it to be softer for its size. So when you put it over, when you splice it over the top of a broken rod, and even though it's a bigger piece, it has about the same bend to it. So we're going to be doing a wrap of thread over the top of this, but I wanted to show you putting the tip top back on. I don't use epoxy when I do the tip tops, but I do use the ferrule cement. And so what I did is, here's a really good suggestion, guys. Get yourself a scalpel with a bunch of replaceable blades. They're very cheap, and instead of using razor blades for cutting your thread and everything, use a scalpel. It's sharp, just as sharp or sharper than a razor blade, and it comes out of the package sterile. There's no oil on it like razor blades will have oil or silicone on them, and that'll create fish eyes in your finish. This is perfectly clean when it comes out of the package. So, but what I did was I cut off strips of tip top cement. I cut them down into little itty bitty pieces. It looks like pieces of Parmesan cheese. And you stuff it down in. So I've already stuffed a few pieces in there. So now we've got that stuffed in. I'm going to take a lighter and hold it next to it. And what I'm doing is I'm heating the metal up. It's going to make that glue melt. And then it's going to boil over in a second. There's the boil over. So take the rod, wipe that onto it, put the glue down, put the tip top down, and then we want to make sure it's straight. Of course, it doesn't help if the guide itself is crooked, which this one is. All right, got the guide on there, tip top. Now all I got to do is do a wrap of black thread here, and then all of these have a little bit of red paint for a trim band. And if I've got some red thread with me, I may do a little red wrap here with the rest of it black, but I'll probably just do a black tip top wrap as well. So But yeah, we'll set things up and we'll do the thread wrap here, and I'll let you guys see that in a second. All right, everybody, I know this is looking pretty amber. This is an older bottle of Threadmaster. I started buying it years ago when it first came out. And the rule is you're always supposed to measure out 3 cc's or more to minimize the percentage of error in your measuring ability. I'm violating that rule today, but don't do what I do. Okay, these little cups right here, guys, a tip if you like, these are the little wax paper cups that you can buy at restaurant supply stores, and I've never had a problem with them, with the wax getting into the finish or anything. I've done numbers, I mean, I don't know, 30 or 40 or 50 rods with these little paper cups, and they're absolutely perfect. They're cheap, they're the right size, and they work perfectly. Like I said, I've never had any issue with the wax causing an issue with the epoxy. So supposed to get a good 2-minute mix on this. I didn't bring the normal needle that I use, so I grabbed this one here from the shop, but it's a little sharp and it's catching the bottom of the paper cup. So I'm introducing a few bubbles, but that won't be a problem. So I've got the rod rotating and it's only going about 6 RPM. Normally I've got a 60 or 80 RPM motor, but not sure where it's at. I don't know if I forgot it or if we've hidden it somewhere in the shop or if it's out in the truck. So normally I use the higher speeds to apply the epoxy because you get cleaner lines and everything, but we're gonna do it old school. Probably turn it off and do it by hand without a rotation for a minute just to get my even lines, and then I'll allow it to continue rotating. All right, you guys, I'm gonna just say that's close enough to 2 minutes, call it good. Saturate into this thread here. All right, that's it. We're gonna let this rotate and dry. Andrew's gonna give you a close-up in a second, but so if anything you take away from this, guys, give these a try if you can get them at a restaurant supply, or they're probably on Amazon. I don't know. I got these at a local restaurant supply in our area. Very cheap, very easy to use, real nice. And mix it with a dull needle, big needle. It actually prevents a lot of bubbles from being introduced. So, and then if you have a bunch left over and you've got another project or you want to do some additional repairs and everything, this stuff starts to set up unless you put it in the fridge. It slows down the exothermic reaction. I can't remember for sure, but slows it down so that you can actually take it back out of the fridge, and when it warms up again, it's still liquid, semi-liquid. So anyways, we'll show you this when it's done, and we'll give you a close-up now, but appreciate you guys watching. What do you think, Andrew?
I think it turned out good.
All right, this is a rod for Andrew's nephew. So
yeah, this is actually the rod that my dad was using when we went over to Pothole Reservoir. And when we were putting it back into the truck, it actually broke the tip off. So this is kind of a surprise slash told him kind of we'd fix it. I don't know if you believe this or not. So, but yeah, it's my nephew's rod that he was using, and he sure caught some fish with it. So very glad to get it all fixed up.
Yeah, there were some fishes caught with this. All right, everybody. So there it is, and I'd like to thank you for watching, and take care, like and subscribe, and go outside.